This is of a different order. He was representing the nation as a trade envoy. He was, carrying out official business. And I think it 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 reflects on both the royal family and also on the government. He was, supposedly under the control, I think, of the Department of Trade at the time. You wonder, what care and diligence they were applying.
We're sticking with that breaking news that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has been arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office and is, as we speak, in police custody. Thames Valley Police confirmed the arrest this morning following allegations made against the former prince after the release of millions of pages of files related to the paedophile financer Jeffrey Epstein. The arrest comes as pictures circulated online appearing to show unmarked police cars attending Wood Farm on the Sandringham estate in Norfolk, with plainclothed officers appearing to gather outside Andrew's home. Thames Valley Police previously said the force was reviewing claims he shared sensitive information with the paedophile while serving as the UK's trade envoy. Well, let's speak now to the Times' former royal correspondent Valentine Low. Val, good morning.
Good morning, Hugo.
Look, this is absolutely remarkable news. I think anyone who's ever covered royal stories, and indeed anyone who hasn't, has always known that Andrew was a bit of a wild card. I shouldn't imagine anyone ever expected anything like this.
No, it's absolutely shocking news. Amazing, and you've got to separate the two things. There was the whole Virginia Giuffre scandal, which obviously reflected incredibly badly on the royal family, but. The police looked at that more than once and decided there wasn't anything that they could pursue. But clearly, when all this has come out through the release in the United States of the Epstein papers, there clearly is a potential criminal offence to pursue of a completely different order. And Buckingham Palace, I think, must be in crisis mode at the moment. They'll be having emergency meetings to work out what to do, to work out how they can protect the monarchy, because this is extremely damaging for the monarchy.
I mean, look, obviously we should say he's only been arrested. He's not, to the best of our knowledge, been charged. He certainly hasn't got anywhere near a conviction, and he continues to deny all sorts of things. But Val, I mean, in understanding how the royal family have navigated Andrew for the past, well, not just the past few years, but really the past decades, has there ever been a sense that, this guy could get us in real trouble, not just reputational trouble, not just damaging trouble, but real legal trouble?
I think that sense has only really been apparent in the last few months. I think they always hoped that, certainly initially in the first few years, that the Virginia Giuffre thing would not be permanently damaging to them, and I think there was a sense of what he got up to in his private life was difficult control and not something under the control of the palace. But this is of a different order. He was representing the nation as a trade envoy. He was, carrying out official business, and I think it reflects on both the royal family and also on the government. He was, supposedly under the control, I think, of the Department of Trade at the time. You wonder, what care and diligence they were applying to whatever he was getting up to.
Yeah. Now, look, in the olden days, by which I mean, about 6 months ago, it would have been unthinkable that police could have arrived at the home of the then Duke of York, let alone arrested him without, the palace itself, the king, being briefed about this very sensitively, probably at the highest level. We've no indication whether or not something like that happened this time. What would you expect in these circumstances after all your years of covering the royals?
I don't know, because there's no precedent. I can't say that, oh well, the last time a royal was arrested they gave advance warning, because it simply hasn't happened. I think I suspect, my guess would be that they might have tipped the palace off at the highest level. But hard to know. No precedent, and I don't think anyone for a long time is going to tell you.
Yeah, it was in such uncharted territory. When he was our trade envoy, Andrew, what was his reputation in that role? Because a lot of people, half the time you heard, oh, this is just a bauble given to a prince who's got nothing else to do. And then occasionally you'd hear, no, this is really useful. It does impress the right people. What was the consensus there?
I think you're asking the wrong question, because there was no consensus. There were some people who thought he, and perfectly sensible, intelligent people, not sort of fawning lickspittles, who think that there were places, areas where he could do some good. I do remember once, at the very beginning of all this, shortly after that famous photograph emerged of Andrew in Central Park with Jeffrey Epstein, I rang around various former ambassadors to find out whether, how damaging this was being, and I was very careful about how I phrased my question. I asked one former ambassador, does it mean that he's perhaps no longer an asset to Britain abroad? And this ambassador said to me very dryly, "What makes you think he was ever an asset?" So I think there were some people who thought he was a buffoon, who thought he was useless, who thought he did possibly as much damage as good. Others said no, there are parts of the world where actually he can help. So there was never any consensus.
Look, finally, Val, you said that Buckingham Palace will currently be in crisis mode, which of course it will. But how big a crisis will they think they are facing? Will they be talking about further embarrassment, further disgrace? Or will there be a little thing beginning to flicker in the back of their minds going, like, this might be how the whole balloon goes up?
I think they will be in major crisis mode, but I think if they step back from it, I think they think that they will get through it. I mean, the royal family's been through some pretty bad crises in the past. Whether this is the big question is whether this is containable, whether this is all about Andrew and not about the royal family. And the question that I would ask is, when Charles, back tail end of last year, acted with such ruthlessness, such Corleone-style ruthlessness to strip Andrew of all his titles, did he have an inkling of what was to come? That's an interesting question, which I don't have an answer to.
Val Low, thank you very much indeed. We're, of course, going to be keeping across that story.